Now, London Mayor Sadiq Khan has splurged millions of pounds to deal with the biggest problem facing this country's capital. Is it soaring violent crime, anti-Semitic mobs roaming the streets, or an insane lack of housing that's led to people renting out tents in living rooms? No, Sadiq Khan has spent £6.3 million of taxpayers' money to give some trendy names to train lines. Transport for London paid swanky branding agency DNCO 6 figures to conduct creative community engagement with underrepresented groups to explore decolonisation and queer histories over 5 months of naming research. The agency website says, "We started by riding the entire network, getting a sense of the line personalities and the communities they serve. It also gave us the chance to conduct over 150 customer intercepts, hearing from everyday Londoners about what makes the Overground special. We quickly learned about the network's low cognitive load. Its lighter, cooler, quieter journeys mean that the Overground is often preferred by vulnerable groups and those with neurodivergent needs. We also had the privilege of interviewing leading historians, academics and transport specialists, delving into topics such as LGBTQ+ histories, East End migration and the fascinating world of London slang and linguistics." London slang? I think they're telling porcupines, because after all that Jack and Dannying around, the names they came up with are pony and trap, and there's no hint of indigenous Cockney culture. They came up with names like the Lioness line, the Windrush line, the Mildmay line and the Suffragette line, which celebrate women's football, women's rights, an AIDS hospital and the boat that brought people from the Caribbean to the UK. And hilariously, the names they chose aren't as woke as Sadiq hopes. Lots of suffragettes, such as Mary Richardson, moved on to support the British Union of Fascists. The Lioness line is a gendered word, which is due to be retired soon, like the word actress. Many of the Windrush generation were wrongly deported by our hopeless government, who let acid attackers stay in the country and instead deport hard-working Caribbean people who fully integrated with British society. £6.3 million, well spent, Sadiq, well done. A consultee said, "More than just tracks and stations, the Mildmay line symbolises a journey of acceptance, love and belonging, a vibrant thread connecting our collective past, present and future." Listen, mate, the Mildmay line is just a train that takes you from one crappy part of London that smells of weed to another crappy part of London that smells of weed. Train lines should just tell you where the train goes. The Bakerloo line goes between Baker Street and Waterloo. The Hammersmith and City line goes between, can you guess, Hammersmith and the City. The Victoria line, where do you think that goes? That's right, Victoria. How's anyone supposed to know where they're going to get to when they get on Sadiq's Tampax line or the Wakanda Forever line? They should have let the public decide these names. For no money whatsoever, we could have had better names like Tubey McTubeface. In fact, I came up with better names on the train in this afternoon. We could have a missing acid attacker line. Will he pop up at one of the stations and spray chemicals in your face? Who knows? It's all part of the fun of living in Sadiq Khan's London. We could have a Hamas chief given a council house line in celebration of taxpayers' money spent by Labour councils to subsidise international terrorism. We could have the state overreach line, where police will arrest you for silently praying in your seat or putting a poster on your door. We could have a Mizzy line, where you get threatened with violence while being filmed for TikTok by some kid who doesn't know who his dad is. We could also have a blatant anti-Semitism line, rammed with uninformed woke people and Islamists chanting for the extermination of Jews without any repercussions from Sadiq's police force. The Guardian has come out to defend the new names, saying that £6.3 million is nothing. Nothing! Socialists are always very generous when they're spending other people's money, aren't they? £6.3 million might be an acceptable amount to spend on something useful like kidney dialysis machines, but it's a hell of a lot of money to spend on pointless virtue signalling, especially when London's transport system has a £500 million shortfall. For all the talk of underrepresented groups, these seem to be the only groups allowed any representation. If Sadiq really wanted to elevate marginalised groups, he'd have a gammon line, and it would take you to a better place than his London. Anyway, I'm joined tonight by three of the best comedians in the business. We've got Suzie Kennedy, Nicholas de Santo, and Jonathan Kogan. Now, Suzie, you're a Londoner, so I'll start with you first.
I just thought it was funny. I thought you said the Jack and Danny line, which I just think would be brilliant, because only Londoners would get what we mean by the Jack and Danny line. Yeah. And they'd just be like, excuse me, the Jack and Danny line. You're like, it's over there, right? But also I'm thinking, like, you've got suffragette, you're calling it woke. Yeah. But the suffragettes would be cancelled now. Like, if they could call that the J.K. Rowling line, they'd go mad. But J.K. Rowling is a suffragette. She fights for women's rights. So
the Hogwarts Express, they could call it.
The turf train. The turf train on the suffragette line.
The turf train?
The turf train.
On London's Overground. Do you think Sadiq would allow that?
No, but he's just called it the suffragette. I mean, does he know what the suffragettes were about?
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't seem to have looked into the history of these supposedly woke names at all. Nicholas, you're not a woke. In fact, you're famously an anti-woke comedian.
Exactly. I'm the exception, so much so that I make it to GB News. But as some people on Twitter suggest, that this could have been, some of these lines could have been named, this is the end line, we hate you line, immigrate line, because Sadiq Khan has, him and his allies have changed London demographically beyond recognition. Yeah. They can do anything to us.
Well, they let you in for a start. So
pardon?
They let you in for a start.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the jab, but it's all right. The thing is, there will be no election repercussions, because they have figured out London is like California now. They will be in power forever. So they've decided to taunt us, as The Guardian acknowledged it, I think, in one of their articles. Yeah. And it's always very sad and painful to be goaded and taunted by the infrastructure, which is supposed to be something for everyone and something to be apolitical. But at this point, our expectations are so low. I'm just happy we haven't ended up with George Floyd line or something to that effect. But again, the Lioness lines, they lost the final. Yeah. Okay, it could have been. It is still an achievement in that territory. But what about the Three Lions? Because they lost the men's Euro final, and in competitive terms, that is a much bigger achievement. So what happened? Again, this is part of the. And I do watch. I know what you have strong opinions on this. I'm gonna make a confession. I do watch women's football when Italy are playing, but people also watch their kids playing football.
The volleyball. So.
Who doesn't? The beach volleyball. Okay, but. The thing is, it has become a sacrament of the state religion. Thou shalt play volleyball if you are a woman, and football if you're a woman, and thou shalt love women's football if you are a man.
So do you think, as this sort of religious thing, that's why it's not much fun to watch? Because you're not supposed to enjoy religion. It's supposed to be a penance. You know what I mean? Sitting on a hard pew on a Sunday and then watching women's football as well.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. But when you think that, why? Okay, you want to encourage women to play sports, that's fine, but why such a vehemence and vicious ideological drive to sponsor and to push for women's football, among other things? Yeah. And one more thing, we know that in London, a favorite pastime or mental sport of Londoners is fantasizing and speculating about their house prices. Who can blame that? Yeah. Blame them for that. But imagine if you have the misfortune of having a house which is now going to be associated with the AIDS line or the stabbing line and all this wokery. Those have a devastating impact on your house prices.
They were work in progress names.
Yeah. Jonathan, I'm more worried about this attitude to taxpayers' money that this reveals. With the Guardian and Sadiq Khan saying,
it's cavalier.
£6.3 million is nothing. Oh, it's just a drop in the ocean. Well, it might be when it's somebody else's money. This is taxpayers' money. This should be spent on stuff that's actually useful instead of just pointless fripperies.
Look, I've had a lot of Sadiq Khan's followers saying £6 million isn't a lot. So that's not right.
Maybe it's not if you're a left wing.
Well, yeah,
champagne socialist.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, they didn't call them the Hamas tunnels. That's a win. They could have done that, but they didn't.
I mean, 6.3 million. That's the price of your weekly bus pass. So
in Italy, we have a saying. We say it's always easy to be gay with someone else's bum.
That is not.
Wait, what's
is that a real saying?
You say it's always easy to be gay in someone else's bum.
Exactly.
What a phrase.
I mean, you really do need somebody else's bum, though.
I come from a rich cultural background.
Unless you're particularly well endowed and you can put it all the way around. But that's a fantastic thing. I'm not sure. Is that genuine? That's hilarious.
You can look it up, yeah.
And it's funny, talking of Hamas tunnels and Hamas chiefs getting council houses in London paid for by the taxpayer. We've got a video of Sadiq Khan, who had a little Freudian slip this week.
As far as I'm concerned, that sort of language isn't acceptable, and it certainly shouldn't be acceptable in a party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic.
And we'll come back to some of those.
Beg your pardon, tackling anti-Semitism.
You just know his heart sank after saying that. And the Curb Your Enthusiasm music plays in the background.
I admire the fact that you think it's a genuine Freudian slip and not just a dog whistle to some of his voters.
You never know.
Who might be like, yeah, anti-Semitism, this is the old Labour Party back, I like this.